What is up, guys? We are here with another Overprime video. How is everyone doing today? We are here talking about basically an overview of the patch, basically what's changed, what's good, what's bad, etc., and what we're kind of like waiting for, because I feel like we're in this state where, like, okay, we got Greystone. He was a like really hype character. I feel like this almost marks kind of like the first year. I guess it is technically almost 6 months, or it is 6 months in, but Grayson was kind of a big character here, and we're kind of analyzing, okay, 6 months into the game, where are we now from 6 months ago? And I think a lot of the changes that we've had have been amazing, actually, for the game from where it was, for sure. But there is still a lot we're waiting for, so we're still kind of just sitting here seeing what's going on. So I'm going to talk about some of this stuff today, basically how I feel about the patch and what I'm looking forward to in the next couple of weeks. I've talked about it in previous videos, but we're going to briefly go over it here. It's not going to be too long, so if you guys do enjoy the video, please drop a like and a subscribe, and I'll bring you more Overprime content, of course, to the channel. I still have to do a bunch of guides and stuff like that, but we'll get to them. I think the next one's going to be Adele, because she is coming out in 2 weeks, or the span of 2 weeks, which I'm extremely excited for. You're going to see probably a lot of Adele spam, so I'm very excited for that. But yeah, anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. All right. So what changed with this patch? Well, first off, we got Greystone. Greystone just being a great addition to the game. I mean, he is the soul laner, like he's the number one. He's probably the best character in the game. It's hard to measure because it's situational, but Greystone realistically is the best character in the game. Taking Aurora and Wukong's crown, granted it was kind of getting back and forth for all those characters. He's just really, really good. He basically is like two characters in one, because he can just survive for so long. He's always pretty much the last alive if his team is actually playing the game. He could do a crap ton of damage. He has abuse right now in terms of his item. He's extremely mobile. He does a lot of damage, and he's also the tankiest character in the game, so he has a lot going for him. So I think a lot of people are going to enjoy him. He's also extremely easy to use, only having 2 abilities. He's always been this kind of like the number one soul laner to try out, because he was just that simple, and he still is. He kept his identity of that. A little shame, in my opinion, a little bit of a shame not changing something about him, but I do understand keeping that easy access kit. And having 2 abilities is like the easiest. You leap and you have a circle around you. That's all you got, but it works wonders. But yeah, he was a good addition. I think that was definitely one of the highlights of the patch. A lot of people were trying him out. A lot of people were playing him, trying to do full damage and stuff, which is not worth it. But I know a lot of people are kind of turned off by the idea of tanks, especially in like quick play and stuff, because it's just super rough to play a tank, because you can't carry a game in quick play. So you have to rely on your teammates as a tank, usually. So I do understand, but I think he kind of like broke that a little bit, where people want to just keep spamming him. They'll go full damage, but it'll still be effective enough sometimes. Or they'll go hybrid and they'll still be effective enough, but it's just really fun kind of like constantly rushing down your opponent. So very good addition for Greystone. Definitely S tier, great character to have. I know a lot of the other characters that are coming out might not be as interesting. Like, I don't think Grimm's that interesting, to be honest, aside from his ultimate. Richter's pretty fun, I'd say, as a character, so I'm hoping the rest of the characters are going to kind of feel really good in comparison to what we have. I think we have all like the boring characters for the most part out of the way. So like we got Zinx, Richter, Terra. I think Grimm's kind of boring in my honest opinion. Morgish is pretty boring, but she is like a staple mid laner, so I think she's also going to be an insanely popular one to come to the game. There's characters like that, and I think then Yin and Boris. I think that's it. I might have missed 1 or 2. Zinx, did I say Zinx? Those are all really interesting characters, aside from Boris, because we don't know what he does. I'm very excited for Terra myself as well as Yin being my main when she comes out. Maybe even more than Adele. I'm still not sure yet, but yeah. Anyways, we're waiting for those characters. But right now we got Greystone, so again, like it kind of like marks a milestone. We only have like 6 or 7, 8 more characters. So like in 8 months, we might have the whole roster, potentially with an addition of, or not 10 months technically, with an addition of like 2 other characters, 3 other characters from Soul League themselves. So super exciting. What else changed aside from just getting a character? Well, we got a lot of economy changes with lane gold, and how and objectives, basically. Well, not really objectives, but they spawn faster, so you get more gold out of that, depending on if you lasted or whatever. It also has lasted changes for like Prime Spirit and Orb. Like mini Orb gives you more gold basically if you last hit it, and then Big Orb gives your whole team gold, I believe, now, instead of just whoever's around it, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not sure about Prime Spirit gold changes, but the lane changes were really good. Gold is now up from what it was. I think it was 15 and 20, and is now 21 and 25 in the left and right lane. I think it's 20 and 24 in mid. And then the big minions, which is every other wave, give, I think it's 65 up from 50, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 60. I can't really remember right now off the top of my head. It's like 4 a.m. So, but they do give a lot of XP now. So if you guys are not XP, gold now, and I think they do give a little bit more XP actually. I'm not entirely sure about that. Probably not in mid, actually, not for the first couple of waves. It just feels like I level up faster, in my honest opinion, but maybe it's just because you're laning a lot more. So basically, increasing the lane gold made it, for last hitting, made it a lot more necessary to actually last hit and not just kind of like snowball out of lane all the time, where you can fall really behind on gold and think if you don't get something done. So I think that the lane changes are really good. I think they kind of need to bump up because, again, I don't think it's perfect, but I do like where it's at right now in comparison to what it was for sure, because laning has a lot more of an emphasis on it. When it comes to last hitting, you have to focus on it. You actually have to use your abilities to clear sometimes. You can't just like run at your opponent 90% of the time and then expect to keep up with everyone else in the game. Like if the carry's farming and mid's just fighting all the time, then it's like, well, you need to farm as both lanes. Same with solo. Especially solo needs to farm a lot, considering that's pretty much all they do for like 20 minutes. So it's just basically a lot of farming, which I know a lot of people probably don't like if they like that fast-paced action, but I think it was really good to have a proper competitive game like a MOBA. We needed more commitment to lanes because we were just snowballing everywhere, running around in the jungle and stuff, and that's just not, you just don't do that anymore as much, because if you do, you lose a lot of XP as well as gold. So, very good change. Definitely really enjoy it. Another good change was the orb changes spawn earlier, so it kind of gets you into the action a little bit faster. It spawns at 17:30, I believe, or 18. So that's really nice. I think Prime Spirit spawns the same time, but I think it spawns faster. Another change, again, Prime Spirit getting that Scylla at level 3. When you get 3 deers or whatever, you get Scylla, which gives you the extra buffs, and then it also still empowers your minions. So you get 5 buffs pretty fast now, pretty much. I'd say like 25, 30 minutes into the game, you'll have 5 buffs usually, unless you're just really back and forth or you're not getting the objective. So it's really nice seeing Scylla every game. I like, it's nice to actually experience her, because before it was like, I experienced her like once or twice and then that was it. But like now it's every game, which is just super, super nice to see that giant Scylla spawn and just have to take it down and then getting that massive buff. I think that maybe they should change it. So instead of giving 2 random buffs at the end, I think that maybe it should just give like all stats for the next, like 2 tabs. I think that would be a little bit better than what we have now personally, but maybe that'd be a little bit too broken. I just think that having it randomized for the last 2 doesn't really make any sense. It's randomized from the start of the game, but getting every stat for Scylla would make it more of a priority objective, and you'd get the ones you're missing, like you'd get like fire, you'd get wind, whatever. And maybe they scale up for the first Scylla, second Scylla, third Scylla, so it acts like you have 5 of a different buff, or 5 of the buff. But again, that might be stacked too high. And then the enemy team, if they get Scylla afterwards, they're just going to keep getting a lot of power outside of it as well. So we just encourage, I mean, that, again, might be a little bit of an imbalance. So maybe it can only give you 1 buff if you get Scylla after for the enemy team. But again, it just depends on the situation. I don't know what they can do, but I feel like they need to make it a little bit more of a priority for the buffs itself. But again, or maybe just buff the minions. That could also be a thing, more than it does. But yeah, still really good changes. I like Scylla being there. Another good change was the bounty system. That bounty system is really good. I do like it. I think it needs to be a little bit higher for like shutdowns when they're like dropping 20 kills and they haven't died yet, but it caps at 750. It says it holds on to the gold, which I think I've experienced. I'm not really sure how it works. I haven't analyzed it close enough, but when you get a kill on someone who has like 7-0, you get like 750 gold max plus the kill gold, so you get 1,000 gold right there and then they come back, and apparently their gold doesn't just disappear to 0. They still have a bounty on their head, supposedly based on how good they're farming. There's also a gold deficit bounty system for whoever has more last hits. So if you're farming properly, you can actually be punished for just strictly farming, because if someone kills you and you're only farming, then they can get that gold bounty because you were ahead of everyone. It scales off of whoever, on your side. If you have the most last hits, you're probably going to have some kind of bounty on your head. Which is really nice, especially if nothing's going on, or if you're like behind on last hits and you get a kill. It's a massive catch-up mechanic if you actually prioritize killing. And if they're just prioritizing last hitting and they're doing a better job of it than you, then it's really nice. So I do like that change quite a bit personally. The bounty system, I love bounty systems in games like this anyways, but having some catch-up mechanics like that is really nice for people who are just dominating the game. They get killed, you get a lot of gold. Super nice. I think they need to make it more team-wide though. like if you get a kill on 750, maybe they get 25% of the XP if they're lower than you or higher than you, and then 50% if they're lower than you. Because I think that having a team focus the top basically earner on the enemy team would, first off, it would encourage better behavior, but also getting rewarded as a team to do that despite whoever's around. Maybe you have to get the assist, but regardless, I think it should split in some way, because I think that just whoever last hits is the one who gets it is like a little bit, that's like they're almost like a goal, a target, like an objective, and you need to get it. So if you work as a team, I think you need to be rewarded as a team, and it would help, people who are so behind catch up. Because again, I really believe in comeback mechanics, and that would be a really good way. Your whole team just focusing the one person that's really causing the issues, and then boom, there you go. You get a lot of gold for your team. Another good change was the tower damage. Towers scale a little bit better. They pierce through armor a little bit more, so tanking isn't as prevalent. It's still, I think, pretty bad, but it's not as bad. I think it still needs to ramp up the damage of tower diving and stuff to just absolutely obliterate, because right now it's still pretty bad. But it's not anywhere near like it was, luckily. And then also the orb changes. You can no longer solo orb easily, at least at the start of the game, unless you build certain items, which we'll go over, but it's really not possible to just do it early game, so you won't see Iggy or Wukong sneaking it early, or like anyone really sneaking it early. It's really in the late game you have to worry about them sneaking it, and by that point you're all kind of like waiting for orb to spawn anyways. But really good changes. I think another good change as well is I think they increased the minions speed or of some sort. I know they decreased the minion power, but they seem to stack up faster. I'm able to completely get inhibitors way easier now than I was last patch, where we take like 5 waves. It takes like 3 probably, with a damage build. So I've been taking inhibitors like crazy just by split pushing. So split pushing is actually kind of viable now, at least to get the inhibitors, which obviously that means you have to watch your lane, and then you get your super minions and stuff. So that was a really good change. I definitely enjoy the minions just being a little bit more fierce. Maybe they just stack up faster or spawn faster, because they do spawn faster in the game, at the start of the game anyways, but they definitely feel like they're doing more damage to the inhibitors, which is nice. And then they also added some new items. So they added like the gray star and the pen item, as well as they did item rebalances. I think most of the item changes are really good. Some of them were a little broken, like the Marauder's Watch I think was a really broken item. I don't see a lot of abuse in it, like for certain characters, but that item is still pretty cracked on a lot of characters, especially Greystone, Crunch. I've seen people magical build that item because there's stupid interactions with it. So I need to test the item a little bit more, because I've been doing like high pen builds for damage, and then I've been just doing like straight tank builds. But I definitely need to test that item aside from on Greystone. That item is pretty cracked though. Definitely enjoy it. But overall, like, the item's really good. I like the assassination item that turns you invisible. It doesn't activate all the time, so I think they need to just patch that in. But when it does activate, you get that giant boost of speed when you kill somebody, which is really nice. I think it needs to be absolutely nerfed. It's just way too strong for the price that it is, but the passive is whatever. But it is a nice passive. I do like killing someone and just disappearing and then just speeding up, because it also means you can kind of just like wipe a team super easily, especially if you're like Xena or Sereth. But yeah, I think the item is just a little bit too cheap for the stats that you get. All right, so that's pretty much everything for the patch that I can think of off the top of my head. If there's anything I missed that you guys enjoyed, please do tell me. We're still missing a lot of features. I'm going to talk about some of the bad things that that we didn't get or disliked for the patch. But overall, this patch was one of the best patches we've had in a very long time. So I'm very grateful that like we're going in the right direction, because I was a little skeptical. I was like, their balance seems weird. They don't seem to be prioritizing a lot of stuff. But this whole lane gold economy change was amazing. It was something that made the game fresh. It made me want to play the game. I started streaming 5-6 hours. I haven't been streaming the last couple of days because Diablo came out. Again, that's another thing, but it's been a lot of fun just actually playing the game. I definitely enjoy the way the game is paced now. It feels like an actual MOBA more so. Definitely still needs a little bit more nudging, but it still feels really good to actually play now, which before it was a little bit of a slogfest, and now it's faster. It's more action. You get more rewarded for properly playing, like with gold changes and stuff, so super nice. But some bad changes. I think the first thing I'll mention is the jungle feels really underwhelming. It feels like you have to just full-time jungle. If you get some kills here and there, you're doing pretty okay. But if you're jungling and you like take one fight early, it really feels like you just fall so behind of someone who's just farming their ass off in another lane. I mean, you literally are like, I took like 1-2 fights, very brief fights in like mid and right, while also getting my whole jungle, and I was 2 levels down from like everyone, and it was the same. I was lower than the ADC. I was like, what the heck is going on? I took like 2 fights and I'm still farming my my ass off, and I can't keep up. So I feel like if you don't know how to play jungle, it's probably the worst feeling role to you. I think overall it's still pretty decently, like, it's not that bad, especially if you take some lane farm. But again, your own jungle doesn't give you enough sustain, and if you get invaded, that's your life. You're done. You're donezo. Like, Wukong is an absolute menace in the jungle, because if he starts invading and you take one fight, he's taking your whole jungle, because it's also easier to clear, which is another good thing, actually. Jungle is easier to clear. I know people don't like that, but characters like Countess and Shinbi have an easier time clearing, who have mana issues, as well as Countess, who just can't clear. I think might actually have made her a viable jungle. I think she might be considered a jungler now, as well as a mid laner or offlaner, whatever you want to consider her. She actually, and she's also one of the strongest characters in the game, but it was really hard for her to do her job. So it's really nice that she can actually clear the whole entire jungle now pretty easily. I need to try more of Countess jungle. You might see some videos of that. But yeah, I'm just, like I said, really good change for the jungle. But again, a bad change was that the gold is just not good enough, and we need a gold raise for sure. An XP raise 100% is more probably necessary than the gold change. Maybe the gold's okay, but the XP is just abysmal. I mean, you need to farm 24/7. Which might be a good thing to an extent, but if you invade, you get a little bit of benefit. But again, if you get killed in the jungle, you're pretty screwed. If they take any of your buffs, you're pretty screwed. You really need to farm quite a bit in the jungle, and it just feels really bad to just kind of like fall behind because you decided to gank one lane. So I might do like a jungle kind of like update guide thing, because a lot of people don't know how to jungle now, and I understand it. It's hard. It's very difficult in this meta. Everyone I've played with, even people who come to my stream every day and like talk, they do not like the jungle for the most part. I don't think there's anyone who said, I love this jungle now. Like, no, I think everyone said it's bad. I agree. I think it's bad. I've done pretty well for myself in the jungle, but it feels really bad to try and help the team, or even just siege objectives, because your jungle, when it's up, you want to be doing it, because if you don't, you're going to fall behind. So until you're like level 12 or 13, you really can't just like fight for things, or you fall behind. So, or even gank, like, so it just feels really bad. But again, XP boost probably could solve that. You probably don't even need to boost the gold, but I think a little bit of a gold bump would also help. So that's my personal opinion. Maybe that's just me as like a jungle main who's played mostly jungle. So yeah, anyways, that definitely needs some looking at for the jungle. Another bad thing was the 2 gold per second. Supports are just absolutely dead. I mean, and if you're not engaging in the lane farm, every other person in the game is engaging in some kind of farming, some supports. I think supports are absolutely shit right now. I mean, I've had like 35, 40-minute games where a support has to roam and do stuff, and they just have just 2 items at like 35 minutes or 30 minutes because they're just so behind. I don't know who would ever want to play support currently right now. It just feels awful to play because you just have no gold. I mean, 2 gold per second instead of 3 gold per second. If you don't know, they changed it. So originally it was 3 gold per second. Now it's 2. I think I asked them to bump it up to like 6 or 7 or something, because I think the game is supposed to be fast paced, but they lowered it because they were just trying to balance out the gold farm. But again, maybe the yellow gem could just give you more gold per second. That would help a lot when you're near an ally or something. And then sometimes when you're roaming out of combat, you keep that other passive, but it's like, right now, you just get no gold as support. It feels really, really bad. I think overall, though, like I said, most people don't get their full build in the game until like 35, 40 minutes if they're playing decently. So 40 minutes might be stretching it. It might be like 45 minutes for like if you're not dropping kills 24/7 or like dropping 10 kills. Like if you're just playing, if you're like a 3-3 and like, 5 player and the game's going on for like 35 minutes, there's a possibility that you're probably not full build, especially if you've been partaking in team fights and stuff like that. Lane gold does help quite a bit now, but definitely needs some adjustment. I think they should just raise it to like 4 or 5 personally. And then supports, even with that, still probably need a buff to their support gold. I think the items aren't cheap enough just for you to just not get it. And you also have to force build your starter, which will be changed in a future update, but right now there's no spell system. So you have to force build the starter, and it just doesn't feel good to actually play a support because you're just falling so behind. I don't like being 2 items when everyone else is like 4 or 5 items. It just doesn't feel good at all. So definitely need some adjustment. Maybe some EXP changes too. Maybe the Yellowstone also gives you EXP if you're next to your carrier, you're next to one person, and you're getting a lot more basically XP generated when they get last hits and stuff. That'd be nice too. Role adjustment still needs, like, like a lot of the roles I feel like are just a little weird. Like tank feels good in a lot of cases, but also feels really bad if someone's fed. But they feel too strong, and because they're necessary in 2 roles, but like you really can't do a full damage jungle, which also needs to be changed. But again, tanks feel good overall, but they also feel really bad in like a casual level, but are really good in a competitive level. I think there needs to be some kind of middle ground where tanks feel a lot more sustainable in the casual level, where there's better itemization, maybe stat differences. Early game, I think, is a big thing. I think that needs to be adjusted. ADCs need to get weaker in the early game. I think mages are fine, except when they get their pet online, then that's just absolutely just shredding. But the early game, for sure, I think that full tanks just need some help for the early game, for the casual players, because it's really hard to kind of like prosper in the early game. Aside from when you get your first item, you're pretty much unstoppable. But talking about like that, getting that first item, getting to that first item, it feels really rough to do. And then at a casual level, if someone's feeding, it's just like, you're screwed. It doesn't feel good at all to play. But in a competitive level, it's necessary to have two tanks. Just quite literally, if you don't have a tank jungle or a tank solo, against high level players, it doesn't feel good at all, because if you're a full damage or even hybrid jungle, for the depending on who you are, you get absolutely shredded really quickly because the good players know what they're doing. So if you can't just like eat a bunch of damage, it doesn't feel good to play not having tanks. That's like a big, personally for me, who's likes playing tanks and solo laners, that's like a big thing. So that definitely needs adjustment. But not just the tanks, all roles need adjustment. I think mages are way too strong. I think their early game is fine. I think it spikes up way too fast once you get your first 2-3 items. Once you get that third item, you're pretty much unstoppable, because there's a strict pen build. You can go, no, you don't even need CDR. You just go pen, and you stack up a bunch of pen, and then you're basically just absolutely destroying carries. You're destroying other squishies. You're destroying supports. You're absolute, and even you're even doing a lot of damage to tanks, because you get a little bit of tank shred in there. It just doesn't feel good to play, or it doesn't feel good to play against a mage who just gets their second, third item online. I think most mages can be classified as quote unquote broken, at least just by an itemization perspective. I don't really know how they can change this aside from just taking pen off of some of the items. I think they just need to lower the values of the pen, personally. That would probably help a lot. Like, you probably keep pen on all the items, just lower the values of it. It's just, there's so much, you get like 40, I think it's like 35 or 40 pen by itself from just building the items. And then buy your third item, which if you go 3 pen items, you're absolutely shredding any squishy that comes across to you. If you don't know, pen is usually considered stronger than power. If you have a baseline of power, then you have pen. Pen will probably, if you have an item that has 50 power and 15 pen, well, that item is going to be insane for whoever gets that 15 pen, because 15 pen is not 15 power. It's like 30 or 25 power against squishies, depending on where they are in the game or what armor they're building or how much armor they have. It just shreds armor, and it does a lot of damage. People don't know that. If you go in the training mode and test it, pen is just super broken. So definitely just lower the values of the pen items. Personally, I just think it's too much. Just like there's just giant pen abuse. But again, that it's not just applying to mages, it also applies to just really 2 characters. Xena and Sereth, I think, are too strong with the pen items. You can just rush pen immediately and then absolutely shred as Sereth or Xena. I think the gold change for that one item will help a lot, but even with that, just getting 3 pen items from the start as Xena is just way too strong. You're just like one-shotting people nearly by your third item, so it definitely needs some changes. Again, just lower the values of the pen probably might solve everything. I hate to like ruin that full damage crit build, but I just think one-shotting at your third item nearly is just not really that good. Whenever I play ADC Sereth, which I do quite a bit, I get my first item and it's an absolute stomp. Their damage pales, like, no matter, even you can be a great player and everything, you're spacing whatever, but like it sucks getting hit like 3 times and you're basically just dead because she did a full burst on you. It does not feel good, especially if you're a support. About that point I just farm supports because you do so much damage. So again, some item changes are needed, some role adjustments needed. ADCs still need their scaling down from the start. I think there needs to be built-in mitigations for certain items like support and tanks would also help a lot. And then the late game scaling up, maybe also get rid of some nullification, because I think the nullifications, there's too much for shredding tanks, personally, for ADC specifically. But yeah, I think all classes kind of need somewhat of a nerf, but I also think that would help if they just buffed jungle. I don't know how you buff the junglers. I mean, nerf crit a little bit, buff the pure damage items a little bit, but not too much like the pen situation right now. I mean, I don't want a one-shot, but like doing a full damage jungler doesn't feel good. It feels only good to have a tank as your jungler, but at the same time, tanks also get shredded by ADCs late game. Just like this whole like weird cycle, but it's like it's exaggerated to the highest degree. It just doesn't feel good to fight against pretty much in any role. You're always getting countered by someone pretty heavily, and like to an extreme where you're getting like one shot, or you're getting absolutely shredded, or you can't catch them, all this other stuff. So I'm not a dev. I don't know how they solve all these issues, but I know that tuning a lot of this stuff down would help quite a bit. So, like I said, basically just kind of an overall item nerf might help a little bit, like at least with the pen stuff. Maybe not the power, maybe a little bit power nerfs, but pen mostly. So, server stability and dashes are still broken. Definitely needs to fix all of that. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand how it's still a thing. It's that's one of the most aggravating things to me is just like their servers are really unstable when it comes to like certain abilities, like dashes and stuff, and blinks. The active. They said they were going to fix it, but they still haven't. And it is server side because when you go into training mode, you don't have any of these issues because there's zero ping. So I know, I don't know about in like South Korea or anything or like other servers where they're located more, if that, like, they're experiencing all these issues, but I know in NA it's horrible. EU, all this other stuff, it's absolutely abysmal. I mean, like I said, you blink and sometimes you just appear 3 seconds later. When your Countess, it just glitches all the time. Aurora glitches all the time. She dashes on her wall. It's just like Zena is the prime example. That pretty much the real reason why I'm saying this is because of her, because I want to play her a lot more, but it sucks that a character is so broken that every time you move when you dash, you just ricochet back. It does not feel good. Definitely need to fix server stability as well as the dashes and stuff. Character balance, I feel like there's just some characters that are just like garbage, absolute dog tier. You can play every character in quick play level, but like in a competitive level, like you're not going to see a Kalari or a proper Wraith that's just going to be carrying the game. They just feel really underwhelming, and buffing damage isn't the answer there. I just think their kits need overall changes. I think some of the characters are just really weak. Like Grux doesn't feel as good as he did. He feels more like just like a team kind of like punching bag who's just going to group up, which is a good thing in a way because he's a tank, but he's supposed to be like a heavy damage dealer as well, but he feels like he falls off in comparison to like Sereth, Zena, like the Shinbi, Countess, like the other junglers, basically warrior junglers, whatever. He feels really weak in comparison. Fangmao, same way. I don't really know why you played Fangmao aside from just some immunity. Like, it's nice being immune to abilities, but like, Jesus Christ, man, he just does. I don't know what you want him for. His ult doesn't get canceled as much, which is nice, but he needs some help. Please help my boy Fangmao. Yeah, so just character balance in general, like ADCs, like I said, just I think Sparrow's way too. It just needs a movement speed nerf. I think they just need their early game skill down. But characters individually, like their actual, like some of them are just way too strong, and some of them are just way too underpowered. So obviously that's a problem. Need help. Item diversity also is just pretty lacking. Like I feel like with tanks, it's just like, oh, as much, there's no like proper actives or like procs. Like in League, they have like, oh, you stand next to an enemy and build up health, and then you expend that health and charge and deal a little bit of damage and get mitigations. There's like nothing really like that in Overprime. It's just, oh, you get an item that has a slow. Some of them are nice, like, oh, you have an ultimate. When you press your ultimate, you get CC immunity. That's really nice. But most of them are just like, oh, you reduce their defense or you increase your defense. So I think just having like on-hit effects and stats and stuff like that, like in League, would be really, really nice. And it's not just for them, it's also for ADCs and mages. I feel like ADCs just crit. If you don't go crit, you're trolling. And there's not a lot of like interesting builds for them aside from, I guess, Spirit's Armor is like the only, I feel like, interesting one I can think of. You just build Spirit's Armor and you just go really fast, but even then it's like, There's some nice actives like the Claw for assassins and stuff, and you could probably build it on like Rev and all that, but most of the time it just doesn't feel really good to build a lot of these items. I just think there needs to be more on-hit effects, and just like item like passives and stuff, maybe like just interesting ones, like if you hit 20 times, you get a giant blast that does a lot of damage on your 21st basic or something, just crazy stuff like that. Same with mages. I think mages also just need some just more interesting items, I mean, like item diversity is just an important thing. So overall, that's like the bad things, I think, basically with the patch that were kind of just like lacking. I know it was a little bit of a ramble, but it was basically all the stuff that I'm like disappointed in, or like it's not in a good spot. So we definitely need some adjustments there, but things we're waiting for specifically, there's still a lot to look forward to that they have addressed, or we're hopefully going to get in the future. I think like stuff like having other objectives would be really nice. So you have like random objectives roaming, like maybe like a roaming harvester, or like a harvester in general that gives you XP and gold. Or maybe like a minion or NPC like it's around the map that you can capture and bring with you somewhere to help you fight somebody, or fight in lane, or siege an objective would be really cool. Just something random that's not just like, oh, it's a MOBA, we just need lanes and minions. Like, no, I want something interesting. Like Smite has like titans running down the lane now, and like an objective in the middle that you have to capture. Like stuff like that would be really cool in Overprime. to just bring up more hype. I think there's to be more insane elements to the game. I'm not a dev. I don't know what personally. I can name a million things that would be really cool. Maybe like a dragon flying through the sky and like it lands for a second. You could grab out of the dragon, fly up into the sky, and like, you know, you go, you know, you can run on the dragon. Like just crazy stuff would be amazing, you know? Like again, it's something completely outlandish just to make it again more interesting. So random objectives, like I said, really nice. We're waiting for the new characters, you know, like Yin, Terra. I said it before, Richter, Grimm, all that stuff. We're waiting for all those characters, so obviously we're waiting for them, as well as the new characters that they're going to come out with. I'm very excited to see after Adele where they're going to go with their new characters. I'm assuming the next character is going to be either an ADC or a mage, considering we haven't gotten those. We've gotten a support, we've gotten a solo laner, or no, we got a jungler, a support, and then we've also gotten a tank. So, which is going to come this month, which is Adele. So we're just missing a mage and an ADC. So I'm very excited to see what their mage is going to be. I hope it, because all their characters have been fucking amazing. Adele, Mako, and Zena have all been phenomenal. They're three of the most fun characters in the game to play. So I'm very excited to see where they're going to go with the remaining roster of characters. Very excited for that. Spell system, obviously, they've said this, but they're going to bring it soon. That's the next thing they're working on. Please, Gears. I hate being a jungler and just having to have Destroyer Stone in like a big orb fight, because that item sucks ass. I cannot wait for the spell system where it's just gone and you can build full 6 items and not have to worry about having Destroyer Stone. It's going to be super nice. Very excited for that, as well as just having other things like a speed up built into like the spell system and stuff, or like your blinks built in there. It's going to be really nice to have those. I hope we get 2, not just 1, but very excited for that. Quick play leaderboards, I think, is also another thing. I think removing ranked is something I've been advertising for a while. Just remove ranked and add quick play leaderboards. You can have leaderboards for how many games you won, or like character-based leaderboards. Like, so if you played a certain character, who's the top character, you can get borders and emotes and custom things like that, and skins even for topping leaderboards, you know, whatever in seasons. I think until we get a stable player base, having ranked in the game as well as quick play just doesn't make any sense, especially if they're planning on adding other game modes. So definitely would like quick play, and even in general, even if ranked is in the game, having leaderboards for quick play is always a good thing, I think, personally. I know Pred has quick play leaderboards, I think, but like just having a diverse leaderboard set for that would be just be really nice. So you can kind of like compare yourself even in quick play. ARAM is coming. We know that. Just needs some adjustments. It was fun, but it wasn't like balanced. So they just need to balance it. But ARAM just really fun, all mid, you know, all random, all mid. Super fun game mode. I play that. It's the only mode I play in League right now because I don't know how to play the game. So very excited for ARAM when it gets balanced and published properly. Character mastery. We're still waiting on master skins. Character mastery. Basically, I don't care if it's retroactive. I don't mind starting over from Sereth, even though I have like fucking 80, 90 hours on her. I really don't mind, but just give me my character masteries. We just need more investment when we're playing the game. I need something to be able to log in and be like, okay, I want to grind this character today, and then I can earn this, you know, reward when I get to level 10 or 20 or 30 or whatever it's going to be. We just need more investment and progression systems. That also going into, we need a battle pass. We need daily and weekly progression systems for skins, Renar, and possibly Kima if they're willing to do that. They've given away a lot of Kima, like $56 worth. So I feel like they do something like that, but also I think a battle pass is a must. I don't understand why they don't have one. They have an exploration pass, but just make a battle pass. Super simple, super easy money. People will invest into it. Weekly progression systems, like I said, just again, mastery systems, but in general, just completing a certain amount of games to get Renar properly, doing certain things in those games over time so you can accomplish those, and then people would be interested in playing the game, getting those objectives done. And just, you know, feeling a sense of accomplishment, like, you know. And then daily systems as well, where you're doing just basically dailies, like kind of what we have, but just more advanced, like, oh, kill 200 minions or 250 minions in this game, and, you know, get a certain amount of Renar, just, you know, stuff to kind of like keep you going, or play, you know, Sereth, or sorry, play a Solin or like jungler, but like have more of them kind of like to go towards, because again, I want to log in every day and be like, I want to accomplish this, and then make the rewards better, make it a lot of Renar, you know, give us currency for like a shop that we can purchase skins in, you know, it's not monetary, stuff like that. So really, really nice to have just kind of like a progression system, a proper progression system in a MOBA. And again, just make me log in every day, force me to. Proper quick cast system as well. This is a simple one. I mean, like literally just when you press a button and you hold it down, it doesn't release until you let go. I don't understand. Right now, all we have is the one where you press the button and the ability comes out instantly. or you have to press right click or like whatever ability you're using, and then you have to confirm it with left click. So just like Smite has with it's called quick casting, I want a proper quick cast system because we don't have one. It's gonna make the game a million times easier. I'm gonna set every ability to quick cast for the most part. So please give us that. Please and thank you. Yeah, sorry, I rambled a lot. I know I'm tired, but this was way too long of a video. I didn't mean for it to be 35 minutes long, or however long it is when I cut it up. But yeah, that's basically the patch, what I'm looking forward to, and what we're getting hopefully in the next couple of weeks, as well as things I'm anticipating hopefully soon before official launch. I don't know what official launch is. I thought it was going to be like sometime around June when Adele comes out, but I'm thinking it's going to be more towards the end of the year. I think they're still planning it for this year. They haven't really said much, but I'm super excited for the future. I mean, I'm having a blast with the game. Like I said, I haven't been playing as much just because other games are taking my attention, but the game Grayson Update came out, I was playing 5-6 hours. I was streaming 5-6 hours. I was still like theory crafting off stream. And I'm just enjoying the game a lot more for what they did. So they definitely did a really, really good job. Just need some tweaks, and then also just fixing the stuff that we've been asking for a while, as well as adding the elements that we've been wanting for a while, or they have mentioned. And then also, again, then we'll go into marketing and stuff like that. But right now, just making the game a better thing to play is what we're looking for. And I think this patch was a fantastic step in the right direction. If you guys haven't played since the launch because you didn't like the way the game felt, try it now to see if it kind of feels better. It's kind of hard to notice all these changes, which is why I went over a lot of them, but they feel really good. And it feels more like a MOBA properly when you're actually farming, if you can actually get into proper games. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for watching. Again, sorry for the 35-minute ramble. I'm passionate about this stuff, so I wanted to go over a lot of the stuff and kind of touch on what I liked and disliked about the patch, as well as what I'm waiting for. And I'm very excited for the future. This month is super exciting for me. Once Adele comes out, I'm going to be playing the crap out of it. Holy, I can't wait for her. I love her, dude. As you can see, I changed my profile. I might change my profile picture back, but I just changed it out of excitement. So very excited for her. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.